I don't know, Jorge. I think that Wilhelmina was faking sick because she was afraid to compete with my gorgeousness. Hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of Canada's Drag Race Season 2, Episode 8. And I still can't remember anybody's name. This is not a good turn of events, if you ask me. But what is a good turn of events is I've got some tipper-doos to thank. First of all, I've got some belated tipper-doos. Sean Smith sent his love and support over a month ago. I'm so sorry, Sean. And Patrick Malachi, who was enjoying a well-deserved snack as he tuned into Wilhelmina and I after coming home from her own drag showcase, sent us both a tipper-doo. Thanks, Patrick. I'll make sure Willie gets half. Yeah, half a slap in the face, I'll tell you what. I'm kidding. I'm a generous person. I'll slap her whole face. Shut it. Now, more importantly, I want to send some thanks to all of you who've been so generous to send Michael Bergantino some financial support as he gets ready to face open heart surgery later this month. I'm going to call this group of generous angels the Michael Doos. My first Michael Doo is Jan Shepard, who sends Michael love as he fights what her son calls the spicy cough. Sounds dirty. Emily Bariso sends love and light to Michael as well. I also want to thank Emma Wakely, Eric Himmel, Jerno Ottowitz, who was tipping for two. Sounds dirty, Jerno, I'm just saying. Our good friend Don Rowland, who wishes Michael all the best for his upcoming surgery. Catherine McGreechin, Norman McFall, Kathleen Thoreau sends her best wishes to Michael as well. Jacob Escada, Charles Meseldine, my boyfriend Vito, hey Vito, Erica Adams from Texas, Peter Borgenson, and Sean Smith, who used my link tree to send Michael some love and support as well. I've been sending your Michael Doos to Michael's PayPal as they come in so that he gets them right away. And to date, we've raised $1,660.72. Thanks to all, especially those who sent in $5. Seriously, it's so touching. As I've said, if all of my 7,500 subscribers gave up the price of one fancy coffee, and I'm assuming that's $5, if you're spending more than that for one cup of coffee, you've clearly got bigger problems. But seriously, $5. If everyone gave $5, we could raise over $37,000. And Michael's goal is only $20,000. We're almost a tenth of the way there. On behalf of Michael, I just want to thank you all for your generosity, especially with everything else that we're going through. Seriously. Now, Jorge, drink me. Oh, what is this? Oh, a gin and tonic, my favorite. This is Steinhardt's Gin from Antigonish. Yes, that's a place, Nova Scotia. Thanks to John Dwyer for sending me that. It's very delicious, John. Thank you. I'm so serious. So we kicked this episode off with all the queens giving Kimora a heartwarming farewell. Although not much was said about what went on with that lip sync. Although I'm sure it'll come up. I'm sure at some point in the world it'll come up. But they all talked about how warm and generous she was as a person, and I do believe that she will be missed. I certainly am going to miss her. I'm just sorry she left that way, is all I'm just saying. Of course, the queens had to congratulate Kendall on her first win. God bless her. And she was happy to accept it too. Because, I mean, episode 7, you got to win one at least once, I'm just saying. Isis went out of her way to congratulate Pythia for a runway the judges finally liked. I don't know. Them's face-slapping words, if you ask me. Just saying. The next day in the workroom, the queens not only congratulated themselves for being top 5, but a top 5 where everyone had a win, except, well, Pythia, she had a win for an acting challenge, but even Kendall was riding her for not winning a design challenge. Why is that so bad? Seriously. Thank goodness Rue's video message distracted the queens from, well, ganging up on poor Pythia. This week's message was weird. It was about snatching ponytails and shining a light. I certainly didn't understand what it meant, and neither did the queens. Thank goodness Tracy and Brooke arrived. I thought they were going to explain the message right away, but no, they started asking the queens what their families would think of them being top 5. Of course they had nice things to say about their families. They're on TV. But what was more surprising was we didn't have to assume what the queens' families thought of their success so far in the race of drag, because there they were for live chats. everyone was gagged. Gia's mom, Susan, was there being all sorts of lovely. Adriana's handsome partner, Yannick, was there. I I think I almost cried. That was just so lovely how much in love they are and how connected the two of them are. There was such a support and warmth that emanated between the two of them. I almost felt uncomfortable being in the room. I'm just gonna say. I was super happy to meet Kendall's partner, Patch. The fact that they've been together through Patch's transition and to have somebody like Kendall who's transitioned themselves. I mean, from going to, being at the worst of their lives with their addictions to getting themselves on the right track and to have a partner like Patch who seems to be very supportive and very much in love with Kendall. It was quite touching to see, I have to say. My favorite one though was Isis's mom, Cindy. Seriously, Isis strikes me as a kind of hard-edged queen, and I'll tell you, Cindy looks like she was not an easy mom. She looks like she wouldn't have taken any guff from Isis or her brother, no matter whether they were in drag or not. And yet, clearly very, very proud of her drag baby, not just for the success that she's having on Drag Race, but for the success that Isis seems to be having in life. Very proud mama there, Cindy, and she was beat. Good for you, Cindy. That's how you wear makeup. Pathea's partner, Jeffrey, popped onto the screen with an eye patch, so I was a little startled at first. And then he said it was so nice to see you, and all these jokes started running through my head. If Wilhelmina were here, she'd be saying them right now, rude. But another pairing that obviously not just very supportive and in love, but Pathea seemed to be very sorry that she wasn't able to be there to help Jeffrey post-eye surgery. At least he's got the other one. It's not like he's completely in the dark. I'm sorry, that's Wilhelmina. That's Wilhelmina talking. And then it was time for the Maxi Challenge. There was a lot of talk about prom and going to prom. Did you go to prom? I didn't go to prom. I didn't like going to school. I didn't like the people I went to school with. There was a whole level of just public torture that I felt was part of school. So the last thing I wanted to do was go to prom, especially since I'm of the era that saw Carrie. I'm just saying, nobody needs to see that at a prom. But what was interesting about this Maxi Challenge was that the queens would be making over teenagers for their queer prom. I was very, very excited, and so were the queens. Well, until they found out that they not only were going to be making over their partners, but had to make them an original costume too. Pathea just looked like she was going to slap, well, Isis. Let's just say it, Isis. And without further ado, in walked the 5 fabulous teens that were going to be getting made over. And I have to say, they were such a great looking group of kids. I think back when I was that age, and I don't know, I would have loved to have had something like this be available to me, or even to have a show like Drag Race on TV at the time, because there really wasn't. All we had was Boy George and Culture Club. That's all I had growing up. And he wasn't on TV weekly. I'm just saying, influencing the children, walking in nature. Wasn't him. Because Kendall won last week's Maxi Challenge, she got to pair everyone up. And I have to say, I was impressed. She really did try to do a fair job of it. Well, I mean, once she paired herself up, she grabbed Alex, who she said looked like a mini her, and she wasn't kidding. The two of them definitely looked like they were related, and they weren't even in drag yet. Seriously. Isis got the extra gorgeous Michaela. Pathea got the absolutely unique Clover, and they looked like they were thrilled to be connected. They both had recognized a quirkiness within each other that was very simpatico. Gia got Ethan, who I think Gia was happy about because, well, he was just so handsome. And Adriana got the leggy Friday. That's a fabulous name, Friday. Best day of the week. Right away, the queens got down to getting to know their partners. And it was very impressive to me to see that regardless of what these kids looked like or what school they went to, I don't even know if these kids knew each other, if they were from the same GSA. But what connected them the most for me was how similar all their stories were. They all seemed to have similar experiences, whether they were gay, non-binary, transitioning. It was very lovely to see not only that there was kind of a strength in numbers, but that in this group, none of them stood out like they would say at school against, the mean kids. Just saying. Touched me. Not like that. Of course, what's a drag makeover without shoes? And these queens took no time at all to get their partners into heels. Of course, Michaela was an absolute goddess in her heels. She had no trouble whatsoever. Alex was another natural in heels. I was surprised that that was his first time in a strappy little sandal shoe. Ethan had problems. There were some issues, bless. Of course, another part of this challenge was making outfits. And all the queens had chats with their partners about what it was they wanted to wear. Michaela wanted to wear red, and I could see that seemed to throw Isis off a little, probably because she didn't own any red for herself. But she didn't seem to feel the need that they look exactly alike as prom goer and chaperone. At least that's how I saw it. Adriana thought a nice gown for Friday would be good, but I think that Friday surprised Adriana by saying she wanted to show leg. She's got them. You might as well show them off. I'm just saying. Alex was talking Kendall's language when he brought up Kim Kardashian and her wet look, which just made me throw up in my mouth a little. Of course, Kendall knew exactly what Alex was talking about, and they got down to work creating that look without trouble. Ethan didn't seem to care what he was wearing as long as he looked pretty, and, well, Gia understood that emotion, seriously. The queen that impressed me the most was Pythia. Not only was she going to make Clover's outfit, which they designed together as a conglomerate of a lot of prom tropes, prom looks, but to recreate a new silhouette and a new look for a new generation of identities. Pythia also was going to make her own outfit. I mean, if anyone ever wanted to impress the judges with sewing skills, 2 outfits on one challenge, well, that's going to do it. Or fail miserably. I don't know. I'm not psychic. Of course, Tracy popped back in to check on the queen's progress. Kendall was a little worried about making an outfit. She said she's getting better. She's paying attention, but clearly sewing is not her main thing. But still, she's giving it a good old try. It's more than some people do, I'll tell you what. Another pairing that caught Tracy's eye was Isis and Michaela. She was a little worried that what Isis had planned was a little understated for her, but Isis did point out that she'd shown them sexy, she'd shown them over the top, she'd shown them avant-garde, and she thought understated would show that she was versatile. Would also help Michaela stand out, and, well, Michaela had no trouble with that. Who would? Shut it. And then the queen's got a first-hand walking the catwalk lesson from Brooklyn Heights herself. She walked down the runway. She walked to the left. She walked to the right. She mentioned to the other queens, don't cut the corners. I have to say, that's something I hadn't noticed the queens doing, that they weren't kind of walking back to the center and then back up the runway. But I might have to go back and look at a couple of episodes to see exactly who's guilty. I'm just saying. Either way, most of the queens seemed to get what Brooklyn was dishing up. Except for, God bless her, Friday. She looked like she was walking through wet cement, bless her. Just picking her feet up too high and landing them flat. And because she was stepping up so high with one leg, it was throwing her balance off. And I felt badly for her. The other person that I thought was having some issues was Ethan. But again, I think Brooklyn gave great advice. Cross your legs when you're walking. Slow it down. It's not a race. Don't look at your feet. They're not going anywhere. You know, things like that. I really think that the teens couldn't have done better as far as a runway coach. And they all seem to feel a little more confident for it. I'm just saying. And then it was elimination day and the makeovers. Isis and Michaela had an excellent chat during the makeover. I can't believe the bullying that Michaela got in her school. I mean, Who lights someone's locker on fire? Seriously, they're metal. What's to burn? But it was so touching to see Michaela's emotion as she was crying and talking about these things. And I don't think that there are many queer kids out there, whether they're in this generation now, which has a little more acceptance to it, or my age, where there was no acceptance, who doesn't understand and recognize what Michaela went through. And it certainly touched my heart. But what touched my heart even more was Isis not only telling Michaela that her drag mom is trans, she has a trans drag daughter, but that Michaela is now a part of her drag family, and said that she can talk to her anytime, contact her, let her know what's what, and not be alone anymore in the world. And really that in of itself is the most important thing I think a kid can hear, because we do go through school and life feeling alone and feeling like we don't have any champions on our side. And it's those people like Isis that step out of the dark with a hand to help that are the real heroes. So here's to Isis, God bless her. I have to say that all of the conversations that the queens had with their teens were fantastic and supportive, and really just full of compassion, because I don't think that there was a queen in the room who wasn't understanding what these kids had gone through. And before we went to the runway, we only got one reveal, and it was Alex, but they didn't say who it was. We just got this brunette looking in the mirror like, and I know it was Alex because Kendall was standing behind her in the background, but she looked good. And speaking of the runway, Brooklyn Heights looked spectacular in that blue velvet cinched augmented hip dress. I don't know what you call it. The only thing I didn't like about it, it was the nude illusion at the bus line, because it just distracted from the beauty of that dress. I don't think that dress needed that detail as well. And again, I can't talk about how cinched her waist was and how structured that hip line was. It was just gorgeous. Keep it covered, Brooke. You don't need to give it all away. I'm just saying. Seriously. Tracy Melchor looked pretty in pink, I'm just going to say it. And Brad looked beautiful in a bedazzled tuxedo. But who's looking at those two when the closest thing Canada ever got to Madonna, Mitsu, was in the room, and in a fabulous feminine tux. By the way, feminine tuck was my drag queen name in high school. First down the runway was Ruby and Isis Couture. And I just have to say, Ruby looked stunning in her red dress. She looked gorgeous. She looked expensive. She looked proud of herself. And I think she stole the thunder away from Isis, who was wearing every blue and silver bead known to man. They combed the highways and the byways for that bling. Now, I quite liked what Isis wore, but it had nothing to do with what Ruby was wearing. Still, if you're going to the prom and that's your chaperone, you're getting pregnant. Just saying. Stormy and Kendall Jenner were next, and Stormy looked delicious in her metallic chartreuse sheath. That's what I'm going to call it anyway. But I have to say, I adored Kendall in that Marge Simpson brunette wig and the Flintstone print suit. She looked great, but she was also giving us full Kris Jenner by being the momager and making sure that her Stormy got to the end of the runway all in one piece and was showing off all the goodies and being as delicious as possible to keep that endorsement money rolling in. Here's to them. They did a great job. Belladonna and Adriana were next. And I have to say, as beautiful as Belladonna looked in her metallic pink dress, I feel that Adriana upstaged her in that pink vinyl number. I mean, it looked like she was wearing a maid's outfit in vinyl, but still, it was just so odd. There was an apron, and it was just, I kept looking from Belladonna to Adriana and then kind of lingering and what is going on there? And then, God bless Belladonna, But that walk didn't improve at all. In fact, I think it got worse. I feel like once she got her hair did, her makeup slapped on, and that dress on her, her equilibrium was shot to hell. It broke my heart. I would have rather seen her walk down the runway in ballet slippers than watch her torture herself. She looked like a newborn colt walking in cement. Not that she wasn't absolutely gorgeous. Apollo and Pythia were next, and here's a great example of two people looking fabulous together without upstaging each other. First of all, Pythia's goth outfit, the fact that she made that quick little dress, it was perfect. She had just enough gothness going on that she could have been somebody's ex-biker chick mom or cool kid mom or whatever, seeing their little baby off to the prom. But then Apollo, first of all, the makeup. Their face was beat to the gods. And I love the mustache. I love the eye contour. That little gold crown askew. I loved it. And then the construction of that tuxedo. It had poofy sleeves, but they were short. I'm sorry, but there was nothing about what Apollo had on that I didn't love. And here's to them. They killed that runway. And here's to Pythia. Way to show Isis up. Isis could have made two outfits. Electric and Geometric were next. And I have to say, Gia impressed me the most out of this whole contest this episode. Not because of the work she did on Electric, but how she took a back seat for Electric. Yeah, she was dressed like Peg Bundy, and yeah, that's a loud character that draws the eye, but I was really impressed with Gia. She really let Electric shine and be the star. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but Gia does seem to pull focus gladly and has no problem standing next to somebody and sharing a spotlight. But to give the spotlight up wholeheartedly really impressed me. And why wouldn't she? Electric's purple prom dress was delicious. And I think that they both had the best time on that runway, I'm just saying. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. For the most part, everybody loved Ruby and Isis. Well, let me just say, everybody loved everybody. What were they going to do with these kids? Tell them they looked horrible? No, they weren't. But they genuinely were very impressed and pleased for each and every one of those teens on that stage. The one critique that Isis got was, well, there was no family resemblance. There was no connection between her and her daughter. I mean, even as a chaperone, people questioned the outfit that she was wearing. Fine, then she can give it to me. I'll wear the hell out of that wig, I'm just saying. Stormy and Kendall seemed to get a better reaction from the judges. Well, at least Brad knew that they were serving up the wet look. And for the most part, all the judges agreed that they had a better family resemblance and stronger connection to each other. So here's to Stormy and Kendall. Well done. Unfortunately, Adriana and Belladonna got not a negative critique, but the same critique that Isis and Ruby got, that they didn't connect. There was no family resemblance. Not that anybody didn't look good. It just, they didn't look like each other. And I have to say, I agree. Adriana and Isis's outfits seemed to be the most disjointed from what was going on. The real standouts of this runway were, of course, Apollo and Pythia. They related to each other. They had a connection. There were similarities with their makeup. I'm not saying that they looked alike, but there was definite similarities to their makeup. And the fact that they were both in black, they were both connected. And it was just so lovely to hear Apollo, Clover, talk about how important this experience was for them and how it touched them. And there were a lot of tears. Don't start. Speaking of Electric and Gia, the judges were very impressed with their look as well. They had a good family resemblance and there was nothing bad to say. The judges were actually impressed with Gia for not making it all about her. So clearly they've been seeing the same thing I have. One of the things that Tracy liked was that Gia had touches of purple in her outfit that were clearly offcuts from Electric's dress, but it tied her into her drag daughter. And then Brad Gorski shared his prom experience, which I think a lot of us could relate. I know I could. He wore a purple fun fur blazer that his mom made him. She's either a good mom or wanted her son beat up at prom. I don't know which it is, but either way, the fact that Brad was on the prom committee, put the prom together, went to prom, and then left early under darkness of night because the rumor was that there were a bunch of boys that were going to beat him up. It's just, it's not a unique experience, but it's amazing, especially in this day and age, that that went on and nobody seemed to care. Oh, it'll build your character. I don't know. It struck a chord with me. So here's to Brad Gorski. Now he's wearing purple fun for all the time and getting paid for it. Suck on that, bullies. Back in the Untucked Lounge, of course, the teens were all thrilled. They had the time of their lives and were clearly not wanting to see it end. Isis and Adriana, on the other hand, were worried that they would be lip syncing, but didn't care because, well, everyone was a winner with all the love that was going through that room, I'm just saying. Not like that. What is wrong with you? Back on the main stage, Gia was safe and got congratulated for a fantastic sewing job, which you could see made her proud. The winner of this week's challenge, though, and I'm not surprised, and there were no arguments, was Pythia. She did such a great job. And I have to say, I love that after she won in the confessional, she said that she can stop picking on Isis now. I hope she doesn't. With Kendall being safe, that meant that Adriana and Isis were lip syncing. Gasp. I have to say, I was a little worried for Adriana. I don't know why. I was expecting that Isis was going to throw it down and throw it down hard, and well, she did. First of all, I think that Isis had a better lip syncing outfit on. It just, all of that shimmy sequin and beadwork. What's not to love with that feathered hooker coat? Oh, I thought she looked great anyway. But what really made this lip sync spectacular for me was they lip synced to Mitsu's Everybody Say Love, which RuPaul wrote. Just saying. I love that song. I made a mixtape that had that every other song because I loved it so much. I love you, Mitsu! And this was a spectacular lip sync to watch. I knew Isis was going to throw it down hard, and she did. But Adriana kept up with her, and I think did a great job. She even gave her bare bum a little shimmy shake to the music, and I loved it. But when the love stopped being said and the music died, it was Isis Couture who shantaed, and sadly, it was Adriana who sashayed away. I have to say, I'm sorry that Adriana went. I really, really liked her. I think she's a great queen, and I have to say, if nothing else, we've got this great opportunity to meet her because otherwise, I don't know if I would have ever have heard of Adriana before this. So here's to Adriana. Well done. You did a fantastic job. You should be very proud. So what do you think? Did the right queen go home? Were the right queens in the bottom? Personally, I think on a makeover challenge like this, it should be a double shantay. I really do. I don't think people should go home when they're making other people feel better about themselves because everyone's a winner. But it's not Wilma Fingerdoo's Drag Race. It's not even RuPaul's Drag Race. It's Canada's Drag Race. So what do you think about that? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Also, in my description box, I've got links to becoming a Tipperdoo, to joining the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, and my Redbubble store where you can get the Denise Cherneau Wilma Railroad illustration on t-shirts, mugs, shower curtains, whatever you want. Every penny from those sales that I get go directly to Rainbow Railroad. I've also got a link to Rainbow Railroad if you'd like to know more about that charity on your own, or even make a donation directly to them. And finally, and with thanks, I have a link to Michael Bergantino's PayPal fundraiser for his surgery costs. If you're looking for a feel-good thing to give a few bucks to, I highly recommend you consider Michael and his needed this holiday season. There you go. That's all I got. Until next week, miss me. Mwah. Seriously, Jorge. I'm almost done this G&T. This was such a good episode to watch. I just love those kids. I talked to Michaela briefly on Twitter. She's a doll. All of them were. I just have to say, I was so impressed with all of them. And what an experience. I remember when I was in high school, like I just didn't have friends. I actually used to, I taught myself how to play the flute and the clarinet because I would hang out in the music room waiting for all the bullies to go home. So instead of sitting there being afraid, I picked up some skills. I'm just saying, taught myself a few things. I ended up winning an award that year for most improved marks, and it was in my music class. I went from a failing grade to I was in the band. I played both instruments in the band. Of course, I didn't win the award. I mean, I won the award, but I didn't pick it up because, well, they gave it away at the prom. Ugh. But still, I think it's having that experience that makes it easier for people like the queens on Canada's Drag Race and myself. I'm just saying, to have that compassion when there's somebody that needs just an ear even to talk to. You know, God bless everybody. Life is hard enough. Who wants to make it harder? I'm just saying.